Okay, Dad, setting up one of the scales here. Was not real flat across, so I got it in the mill. And we're gonna try to take just enough off to even up those two sides where you see it kind of at a wedge shape there. See how it goes. And everything set up. Clamp is tight. Find out. Okay, it's going pretty good. See if you can see me make a pass here. I'm doing this rather than sanding it down because it's hard to sand off a wedge. I want to have everything flat. Probably could use the bigger cutter, but I have this one ready to go. Hoping too that I don't open up a crack or anything, since this is a 10,000-year-old piece of material, 5 to 10,000 I suppose, on a 80-year-old mill. Who'd ever thought I'd be cutting mammoth tusk on a Bridgeport? Looking pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna stop the camera now so I can focus on the work. Okay, got them cut pretty clean. Sorry, not too much for gap. I'm gonna stop there. I really want to cut the profiles, but I don't want to get in a hurry and then make a mistake that I regret. So that's what we're doing. There we go. Should look pretty good. Okay, so working on getting the profile onto the scales here. My dilemma is with these now that since they're arched, I can trace the profile on the back easy enough. That means if I put it on the bandsaw, I gotta kind of hold it like this and cut it, and it could wobble on me. On the flip side, I could try and take it like this and trace it on there, but then I don't, it's wobbly when I'm trying to trace, and I'm not sure how good that'll do. So I'm probably going to take my chances on the bandsaw because I think I can hold this. So I got some extra back here. I'm gonna hold this like that and go through and cut it real easy like. I think I can do that. So also trying to check it here. So this one's like this, meaning it's gonna come like that, I think. Yep, like that, meaning I'll miss, which is good. I'll cut off some of this deeper groove where the material's a little uneven there. So that looks good. And I'm gonna have to, I think once I cut it, mark out the holes in here for the screws that'll go there and there. Those will be interesting as to how we're going to cut those. Guess you could argue I should mark it now and drill them when all this stuff is still flat. So I could put it in the vise. Or I don't do that. And I mark them and I clamp it down However, I clamp it down, I could put this on there, line my holes up. Could profile it out. This is what I do when I do this. I sit here and I think about it and I try and reason it through. So I could cut the profiles, mark them on there, line this up. I have to think about that. Okay, so I decided to go ahead and drill these holes before I cut the profile so I could clamp them into the vise here. Reasonably accurate, hopefully drill those holes as about as straight on as I can get. So we'll see how it goes. Getting it nice and square in the vise here is kind of tricky, but I got it pretty flat across there and there, so we'll see how it goes. I did one already. See here, 2 holes in there. Hoping that crack in there doesn't go all the way through when I cut that profile. If not, I think I can repair it with some epoxy. So there we have it. Okay, got the other one cut. I wanted to video cutting, but I can't hold a camera and run a bandsaw at the same time. So that was their first one, I think. This was the second one. Ended up pretty good. I got good material thickness back here where we had some of that texture. So that went well. Holes look like they line up. A little bit rough. That spot down here with the crack I was worried about, we got really lucky. As I was cutting it, it snapped. But it snapped from the point of my cut away from the grip. So good Lord was watching out for me on that one. So anyway, I think that's looking pretty good. So actually what we could do, a little preview here. Get out here's the blade. Get my shadow out of the way. Turn like this. Sorry for my bad cinematography, but that'll sit there. Oop. I want to lay it out the way it's going to be. Here. Make it a little bit easier there. There we go. It's going to look something like that. Won't that look sharp? Giddy up. Got lousy lighting in here at night, but cool. Cool. Alrighty, time to go inside. Okay, I was having trouble with my screws lining up, and I think it's because somehow my center hole is just a little off center where I had to countersink it. It was tricky to go back in and countersink that. So you can see where I got it started. I marked there at the lines where I think I'm off, so that hopefully I can go in here and just waller it around and make things work out. So what I'm doing is going to drop this down into here where I can see my lines just there, just till it bottoms out. Like that. And then run like this, and just pulling away. ever so slightly. On that side where the line is. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. My screws weren't quite engaging square. That one needs a little bit more. Just having to eyeball it more than I'd like, but for what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get it just, so I'm just barely touching that bottom there. There we go. Okay. Not much. Looks better. Okay. I'll go try and fit it up. Alright, so I'm back in here at my desk. This is what I'm doing. And I got these puny screws that drop in here. And I got this bit that fits it. These things are so small, I don't even chuck the screws up in a tool, or the bit in a tool. I just use it like a dinky screwdriver. So come around on the back, and I'm trying to get that flush with here so I get my full thread engagement. So that front one is looking pretty good now. I really like him. That helped in my... I was trying to keep those holes as tight around that screw as I can. I got a little bit of gap there, but overall, not bad. That's coming through pretty flush. Maybe just a touch more. Yeah, I like that. My back one looks like it could be a little better. No, I just turned it. If I strip those out, man, I am in deep, deep shinola. I think that's okay. In fact, that back one now looks good. So what I'm going to do, make sure I didn't strip anything out. Take it back apart. Take a look at my threads. Look okay. Screw looks okay. Tip is just barely magnetic enough. Go back in here. Whoop. I'm putting the screw back in just to kind of check my threads and make sure, and trying to do all that I didn't strip anything. Looks pretty tight. I can feel the threads engage. I can feel it bite in. Screw looks tight, but that didn't quite sink down in there like I'd like. So I think I'm gonna go back on the mill and waller out that hole toward my mark one more time. Give it just a little bit more, and then we should be in business. But those holes, the mill, probably user error. I probably could have lined it up better. I don't know, it's tricky. But you can see how nice a tiny hole that is going in there. The thickness back there that I had to line up with the right countersink thickness on my screws. So it's like, this is just as much work as a big project. It's just all tiny. So, all right, bye. Okay, just ran this on the mill again. Opened up that hole ever so slightly with the countersink. And now I've got pretty even depth on the back. So I'm getting my full screw engagement. So that should be a good shape. I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to use some epoxy on this just a little bit, kind of out in here when I do this, or along the face, just for some extra insurance. Those screws are nice, but they're awfully small, and by the time you countersink them down in, man, they're not a lot of material there. So I want to make sure this thing, if it gets dropped or whatever, not everything is reliant on those little screws holding. But that's one. Here's the other one that I got to do. I put the screws in the back just to kind of pin it, hold it, but you can see there I haven't countersunk them yet. So that's the before and the after. And I'm debating too, might fill these with epoxy down in there maybe, so that it's kind of smooth. That'd be nice to have a pure, smooth, glassy surface, but that would mean that you could never go in there and take those screws out if you had to remove the side piece for some reason, if it got broke or needed replaced. But don't know. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. My plan is get this side countersunk so that the screws can hold the side plates on. Then I can put stuff together and start sanding up. So I got to sand. You look at it from the back. I kind of tried to overcut the side pieces so then I can sand them up close, make it all even. And I think I should do that with it more or less assembled so that everything will match up nice. I want to make a filler piece. I'm kind of thinking more about that to go in there. So we'll see. Well, but it's lunch hour now. I need to go eat some food and then get back to my day job, which unfortunately is not making knives. Okay, so I was at the Menards tonight and I got this 1/4 inch aluminum square, I don't know, bar. And I thought this is going to be the right stuff to do the fill in on the back side of the knife. So what I'm hoping, obviously, when the knife goes together kind of like this, right, on the back side you get that gap, and I'm not really excited about that gap. I think it looks kind of cheap, and I think it'd be nicer if it was all smooth and filled in on the back. So I'm going to cut this rod and shape it to make a spacer that goes in there, and we'll sandwich in between. So as I was sitting here kind of working with the parts, I thought about using some of this cardstock to make myself a template so that hopefully I can shape that piece correctly. And if I get this template on here right, I could mark my holes, and then I could do this, and the piece of aluminum's got to go get really narrow down there and then open up, which it gets fatter out here, but I don't have to go all the way out there. But then I just open up to a 1/4 inch, which is the 1/4 inch square bar stock that I got. I picked aluminum because I can polish it up and it won't rust. But it was getting this curve right on the blade from up here at basically nothing all the way down. When the knife opens up, it hits that pin. And I am assuming, partly here, that I can shape my piece. It'll be held by 2 screws down here, and then when I put the knife together, probably what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of epoxy up in here to get it where it needs to go. I don't think I can come up and capture around that pin. There's just not enough space in the material to be able to do that. So screw it on 2 sides, pin it up there. I guess there'd be a small chance that if you're pushing on it hard enough, maybe it would want to bend inside, but I don't think you put a lot of pressure there on the knife. Usually you're grabbing it and you got the sides to support it. So what I am doing now is seeing how this is lined up, and I want my cardstock to overhang just a little bit, so that when I cut my metal down and do all my stuff and I put my piece in there and I do my final sand on everything, I can sand it all up, everything even and smooth. I got a little extra material. So that is looking pretty good. So maybe what I'll do is mark my holes first. So I got those as a reference point. And then I got that worked out. So come all the way out like that. So that's my shape. That all the way out to there. Okay. Probably cut that, try and set it up on my bar stock and see how we do.